Wicked. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So once again, thanks again for joining us here on the Unlearn Show, where we break bad habits, talk about breaking bad habits with a purpose. Our guest today is, and Matt, say your last name for me, please.
It's Gagnon.
Gagnon. So we got Matt Gagnon, who is just an absolutely powerful storyteller, coach. If you haven't had a chance to connect with him on LinkedIn, please do. Matt, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Would you mind just starting and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So let's see. I'm originally from Maine, born and raised up until 12 years ago when I moved to Austin, Texas with my wife. I have a 4-year-old son, and currently I'm a professional and certified life coach, leadership coach, and motivational speaker. And I love music, and I love my community, and I just love living life to its fullest right now. I also like breaking rules. It's kind of me.
That's awesome. Do we have any co-hosts that would like to ask the first question and kind of kick things off with Matt?
I'll go. What's up, Gagnon?
Hello, Katie Wallace.
All right, so I've got the hard-hitting question for you. What is your why? What is your purpose?
My purpose? All right, so purpose, I actually have a life purpose statement that I designed about 3 years ago when I really stepped into this, not just this new line of work that I do, but also this identity, really, about going through most of my life kind of not knowing who I really am and living a life that was defined by others. I created a life purpose statement, and sometimes you'll see that I use a hashtag a lot, live with a courageous heart. Well, courageous heart is actually my identity. So my statement goes, I am the courageous heart that passionately beats to serve and empower the hurt, broken, and lost. And that's something I choose to step into every single day to remind me of who I really am and why I'm here on this earth and what my purpose is. So that's the journey I've been through in life. And this is what keeps me serving.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm a little curious to know, you said, you know, you had been living a life defined by others. What did that kind of look like?
Yeah, it's what I perceived. You know, I lived a life with values that I thought other people wanted me to have, you know, and so I was always kind of the family hero growing up, and the one who looked like he had it all together. You know, I was involved in every extracurricular activity. You know, I was very active in sports, always in leadership roles. And then when I started my career in corporate retail, I took off really quickly. So I showed a lot of success on paper, and I made a lot of money. So I bought a lot of fancy things, drove around in a BMW for a long time thinking I was somebody awesome. I just felt like a real douchebag in that thing, to be honest. You know, if I look at it really, but I mean, that's what I was in that chapter of my life. It was a real DB stage of my life. And everything was so material. You know, I was just buying fancy stuff. Everything was so surface. And it's like I had these empty tanks, like something was totally empty in me. And I kept filling it with garbage that didn't belong there, you know. And that was, you know, kind of addictive personalities, you know, drinking. When I say drinking, I don't drink alcohol, but I drink 15 cans of Red Bull a day. So yeah, people seem more disturbed when I say that over alcohol. I could say I drank 15 cans of beer. Like, bro, you probably have a problem. I say 15 cans of Red Bull. Like, dude, you should be dead.
Yeah.
Not just that. I was also on 60 milligrams of Adderall a day too. Like, so I was bulletproof until I wasn't. So that was a life that was really defined by others, and it burned me. I lost sight of who I was. I mean, I was, you know, my statuses meant everything to me. So like to travel 25 nights a month, and like, I was so like friggin' awesome. I thought in my mind that, you know, I had diamond status at this hotel and I was platinum at this one, and I'd skip the lines and look at me at the airport. Like all these stupid things meant so much to me, just surface crap. But underneath, like people used to say like, man, I used to be so jealous of you. I thought you had it all together. You just like, you look like you had everything. I looked like it, but I was so rotten underneath. I was lost, totally lost.
So Matt, okay, awareness is the first stage, right? Tell me about how you became aware of this like crappy DB stage of your life and how
The
you
DB.
and how you tossed it out there. I'm just
I
repeating
did.
your excellence.
Unbelievable. That's my word. Only I can say that.
I love it. So how did you become aware like this is, and do you feel comfortable, talking about it? How you became aware of the DB stage and how you decided, you know what, I don't want this anymore. I want more. I want, what you have now.
Yeah. For anyone who's missed it, DB stands for douchebag. So just so we're clear. So yes, she called me a douchebag. It's not the first time. I'll tell you. Hey. I thought this was a family show. My son's going to be watching this.
None of us are surprised.
So let's see. So when did I become aware of it? I'll tell you what, like by the age of 30, I really became aware. I was starting to feel by 29 like life was unmanageable. I was beginning to feel powerless. I was also going through a phase in life too where I had a mentor in my life that was incredibly abusive to me. And I didn't realize it. I was in such a lost place. I kind of looked up to this person. But on the other side of the coin, they were developing me and helping me grow, but they were also harassing me on a daily basis too. Sexually harassing me too. And it was just like through a long 5-year time period of life where it was just such an abusive relationship to somebody I looked up to. And that also just kind of fueled this whole thing of being lost. But I stayed in that relationship because that mentor relationship, because I was growing and developing, and it kind of fueled my ego too, but while also crushing it at the same time. But by the age of 30, my whole body was crashing. I was suicidal, and it was it was February when I was 30 years old when I attempted suicide, and completely felt unlovable. I was living a life. I was living a life that I wasn't proud of. And I felt so broken. I felt like if anyone knew how ugly I was inside, I'd be completely unlovable. So I was just riddled with shame, and I couldn't keep up that golden boy image anymore. And so, yeah, I took a whole bottle of pills. I took all my Adderall and washed it down with Red Bull in my classic style. And I just hoped that my heart would explode and that would finish me off. I was in Chicago at the time. And the irony is the Red Bull all that Red Bull drinking probably saved my life in some ways, because it was almost like training my body to build a massive tolerance to caffeine and amphetamines. And so it was a pretty powerful moment, because there I was in my hotel room, body's cramping up. I remember my nose was bleeding, and that was pretty much it for me. I was ready. And then I heard the music come on. Yeah, as my iPod was playing, and that song Hallelujah came on, and it was the Jeff Buckley version. And it was just something about hearing those lyrics at that right time period. And it made me want to live, it was, sorry, it's still like a powerful memory. Yeah. But, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, and the baffled king composing hallelujah. And so I just wanted to live. I wasn't done. So I purged everything, and that felt fairly violent. And I kind of passed out and woke up the next day and put my suit on and went to work. And still, even then, my life took another month for it to crash. And when it did, I couldn't have been happier. It was like a massive weight came off my shoulders. And I made a big change. I went on a boot camp of self-discovery. I found a therapist that specialized in men's work. Um, and I just immersed myself in it. I got really fat, grew a beard, took some time off, and started to discover myself. So that was when the awareness first kicked in. It's a very long version of the story, but that's when it really kicked in, that something had to change. And unfortunately, it took 7 years to where I am now for that really to grow. And so it's a process. I mean, I spent 30 years living my life a certain way with certain limiting beliefs. You know, I knew it wasn't going to take 1 year for it to all change. It was a process.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing, Matt. That's awesome that you're willing to share that. Not the situation, but what would you say what did you take from that moving forward from an adversity standpoint? What are some things that you learned that you've kind of taken with you as you've come back now to where you are today about adversity that's helped you grow from it and not be taken over by it?
Well, the first thing is that I can't do this on my own. That there's no value in trying to white knuckle my way through life. So one, I really started to grow in my relationship and my faith because I had faith in my 20s, but I was very angry at God and spiteful at a lot of people who hurt me. So that was a chapter in my life where I decided I'm going to take over and I'm going to take the wheel and I'm going to do things my way. It's my turn, entitled. And then now it was just total surrender. Like, I can't do this. I'm terrible at steering the wheel. I can't do this on my own. So first I leaned into faith to help kind of guide me through the process. And then I started leaning into a few select people. I still had a lot of trust issues with people because vulnerability was always something that was a part of me when I was a kid. And I could sense and feel emotions and things within others. But when you're a kid with that kind of stuff, not everybody's cool with it. And it freaked other kids out sometimes. And it freaked them out to the point where they beat it out of me till I locked that shit down. And it didn't come back out until these past several years, that kind of embracing that gift. But that adversity actually trained me and got me ready for the next chapter of adversity in life when I got sick. So one, it taught me that I can survive anything because I thought I couldn't survive that chapter of life, and I did. And it also taught me how to be more self-aware and be more aware of what my values are. And it gave me faith. And so it did prepare me for the next chapter in many ways. It was training. And that's why I truly believe no experience is ever wasted. You know, it's only training for what's next in life. So I was ready.
So Matt, you've talked a lot, I think Chantel started it with awareness, and you even have mentioned self-awareness, faith, not being able to do it by yourself. Can you bring us full circle? Looking forward to the future for you, what is something that you have to unlearn either constantly or something that you're fearful of that you're going to have to unlearn to make sure that you stay on track for your future to be successful for you?
Something to unlearn. Yeah. The unlearning process is, for me, it's really about the ego. Because I think one of the biggest things that I value these past couple years when I went through disability and a lot of mental health issues was being stripped of my ego and pride. Like it felt like it was violently being ripped off me. And it just, from a faith perspective, what I'll say is like, it felt like I had all these things ripped off me and I was just left there kind of raw and naked and vulnerable to the world. Because these layers I piled on me were all these things that I thought I needed to be successful in life, these upgrades, to be also a protective shell too, that kept people out, away from who I really am. And having those things ripped away was God's way of saying, hey, look, I created you perfect as is. You don't need all that other crap on you. And so it was pulled off me. And I have to constantly remind myself that I don't need that stuff. Like anytime I feel my ego creeping in, that I need to prove myself to somebody else, that I need to show that I'm somebody special or I have value, that's all a lie. And that's when I start getting lost. So staying truly connected to my faith and who I am as a person, accepting my flaws, embracing my flaws, that being ridiculously flawed makes me a human being. And I've learned to embrace those things, and I've learned to share those things with others to let them know that they're not alone in their flaws. And just it's a constant pursuit of, not needing to be perfect and not shaming myself for my mistakes. And that one of the biggest lessons too is that I live in a world of abundance and not lack. Every time something was happening in life, I kept saying, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do that for me. When I was in prayer, like, what about this and what about that? And so many problems were being solved in the moment, and I was never grateful for them. I was always focusing on my lack. I'm lacking. But if I look around me, man, even when I was broke and 5 months behind on my mortgage, I was still one of the wealthiest broke people I knew. Like, I lived such an abundant life with the family that I have, the people in my life. This network on LinkedIn is just unbelievable. So that keeps me going forward in the future. These limiting beliefs, I'm just blowing them up on a daily basis. And I can't do that alone. I have to have a strong inner circle of people that speak truth into my life. And that's what keeps me going. So I hope to say that I never go at it alone again.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Matt. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to give the Go-hosts one last chance if they have any final questions or thoughts that they wanted to share. Anybody have anything that they wanted to ask Matt?
I have a statement. Can I make a statement?
No, you can't. Sorry.
Please let me make a statement.
Yes, you can. Overridden. Overruled.
Overruled. I really just wanted to say thanks, because I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this. And I know your that whole transition runs parallel to my experience. And I think sometimes once you're so far removed, it's been 10 years, you start to forget what it felt like in those moments. And hearing you talk about your experience reminds me of my experience, and hey, don't forget, kind of where you came. And I think when you not forgetting where you came from, makes it so easy to keep your ego out of it. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. And I think a lot of people will be able to latch onto that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to thank you too. I mean, I was bawling over here on mute because your story, it just is so raw, and I appreciate you talking about it, because it's so easy to feel so alone when you're down and you're at that lowest point, so it's definitely the community. The community is everything, and having that solid support system. So thank you so much, really.
Thank you.
So Matt, for the last 4 or 5 minutes here, the floor is all yours. If you have anything you wanted to ask or share, or just anything under the sun, or if you just wanted to chat, it's all yours.
Oh, that's dangerous to give me all that power. But
yeah, you told the rule breaker the floor is his.
Yeah, that's right. I do value breaking rules.
Stop recording.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up. You hear me? All right, great. Let's go on. I got to be honest. The rule breaking thing, before I ask a question, really came with why I enjoy LinkedIn. I've been using LinkedIn for 8 years, and someone made the comment to me the other day, you should have more followers than Oleg by now. And I'm like, well, Oleg and Bridget, they always talk very consistently about business. For 5-6 years ago, I started talking about vulnerability on LinkedIn. I looked like a lunatic back then. Everyone's wearing suit and ties on LinkedIn. And here I am talking about my feelings, and which made my own employer really uncomfortable too. Why are you talking about this stuff? But I felt the need for it. So I've consistently been using this platform, breaking every rule along the way. Determined that, because I don't know why LinkedIn was my calling. It was the most unlikely platform for me to find my family, find my network. And I was just determined that this was a community of people who were kind of lost, just like I was. And I was bound and determined, to share stories on there and tie it to our professional lives too. Now you zoom forward like 5 years later, and like, every other post is somebody like, so I was in the bathroom at work crying, and, it's like, every other story is totally about vulnerability now. So like, I'm no longer like, I'm on trend, I guess, with everybody else. It just cracks me up how the game is changing. So my question for you guys is, what do you feel like is your life purpose? Like, why are you doing this? What fuels your tanks every day? Proceed.
Who's going first?
I got it.
Okay.
I'll go ahead, Katie.
No.
Ladies
go.
first.
I'm always the kid that wants to go first to get it out of the way.
I am too. I'd see.
Come on, kids.
Hufflepuff.
Let's go.
You can go first.
Okay,
Gentlemen
I'll get this one too. Okay. Yeah, so I actually did a life purpose thing last year as well. And my statement is around, I love to see the spark in people's eyes when they overcome a hurdle or a piece of friction that they think they couldn't before. And so that's like the thing that fuels my tanks, as you said, just helping people just overcome something they feel like it was impossible, which it may or may not be. Maybe something really simple that it's impossible to them. And then the second half of that is, and I love to help people share their voice once they've freed up from that friction, help them get whatever it is out that they're passionate about, the people, the purpose. I like to help them get their word out.
Beautiful, man. Thank you.
So my whole thing is that I want to leave people and places better than I found them. And I think it all goes back to everything being connected. So like we're all connected, but then we also have this like really like deep connection with like our environment around us. And so it's just this like holistic thing. So it's like sustainability is my thing. Just I'm super obsessed with it, but it like goes so much deeper than that, and it's yeah, I'm just gonna stop.
Great, thank you.
So I guess I could, I don't.
You're next.
Well, we don't really have any kind of formula for the show, do we?
Come on,
who always goes
friend.
first? I am still figuring it out. I feel like every day is a new journey, and every day I evolve and I change, and I kind of embrace that. So my purpose, my passion, my why is ever evolving, and I think that's okay. It's a lot of pressure because I feel like I should have my shit together, but sorry.
Little hands.
Thank you. I love that. Sorry. Another
no, don't ever apologize for that.
Today's his birthday party, so we're really excited. Yes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Okay, great, bud. Okay. That's my why, I guess, like I want to be happy, and I want to be the strongest piece of the puzzle for my family. And going through my health struggles, I've understood that, just like you did, that life is short, and these struggles are here to make us bigger, better, brighter people. So also spreading that knowledge that adversity is relative. You don't have to have a medical condition to be a freaking warrior, right? And be the strongest piece of the puzzle for your family. So
wow, for somebody who said that they didn't know their purpose and it's evolving, that second half sounded like a purpose. Woo.
Well, I guess I needed that little reminder. Those little hands to come
little
in.
Hands. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of piggyback on that, and I'm probably not gonna full circle it back around to actually knowing what my why is, but I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I have only in the last couple years really started to find a person that I had lost for a very long time, and find a voice that I had lost for a very long time, through other, through life choices and paths that I took that kind of essentially maybe a little bit what you were saying, that we're defined by other people, or I allowed myself to be consumed by other people's purposes. And so I think I'm still on that journey, really. I haven't quite gotten there yet. And so it's really incredible for me to be doing this show, because I get to hear people and their journeys and where they have come from, where they started, and how they're figuring that out, because I think it's really helping me to kind of get to my purpose, I guess, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I really just like, transformation's messy. You know,
Yes.
Everyone wants transformation, but no one wants to get there. No one wants to take the path. They just want it to happen now. So I really applaud you for choosing to go on the journey, because first we get a vision and we kind of have some kind of vision of what that end part looks like. But that path in the middle is just, it's filled with fire and crap and rainbows and sunshine and all kinds of stuff. And it's just friggin' magical. But it's messy as hell. And not everyone's willing to go through it. So I applaud you for having the courage to step into it. Good stuff's happening.
I appreciate you sharing your story, and obviously the same way, just so honestly and allowing that vulnerability to come in, because I do think that actually does really help people like me.
Thank you.
So mine has always been about, just like what all of these other absolutely wonderful human beings, and yourself included, Matt, it's always been about family. Mm-hmm. And family comes in all types of shapes and sizes and oddities and uniqueness. And, you know, I've not always been, you know, you mentioned ego. I haven't always been that person, you know, where giving or wanting to help others or to support them or to enable them. That hasn't always been front and center for me. It's always been a part. But there were definitely times when I was younger of, you know, you talk about breaking the rules and finding your own path. And I think I've always been the person that's gone off the traditional standard paths. You know, it's something as simple as when you go hiking, here's a trail. Okay, let's go between the trees, right? So yeah. It's always been about finding a different way and not knowing what was out there. But I think what's continuing to transform and evolve, which is what every single one of these absolutely wonderful human beings is saying, is that I think we've found people that help us. They enable us to do those things. And for me, that's what it's always been about. I've realized is that helping others to find their way, especially when it aligns so closely with my own core values. So that's my purpose, is to continue to surround myself with these types of people that are going to bring out the best in me, and I'm going to bring out the best in them. So that is what I want to continue to be able to do.
Love it, man. Beautiful. Man, you people are amazing. I love it. This is cool. This is great. I feel so blessed to be with you guys.
Well, the feeling is mutual from all of us. And Matt, on behalf of all the co-hosts and the Unlearn show, thank you once again for giving up some of your Saturday morning for us. We really appreciate your time.